What's up, guys? Today I wanted to talk about a little bit about the race on Sunday, but not really about the race. There are some people who wanted to hear some positive stuff about NASCAR, and I did say I would give it a shot. Now, I'm going to be honest, I'm not really going to get into a lot of different things because, in all honesty, NASCAR has a lot of issues, and I've talked a lot about those issues, and I've made criticisms of a lot of things. And, you know, I know a lot of people think, well, this guy's just a hater. He's always looking for things to complain about. But that's not the way I see things. I think that as long as you're being honest and the criticism is constructive, you're just trying to help uh, things get to a better place, right? I'm not here trying to get attention or just bash things just for the hell of it. I don't get any joy out of pointing out negative things about NASCAR or any of the other things I talk about. I'm just being honest. I'm not that type of person who likes to pretend everything's okay when I know it's not. You know it's not. And there are people who don't mind burying their head in the sand and pretending everything's great when it's not. I'm not one of those people. If you don't like criticism or just hearing somebody's honest opinion, now just because it's an honest opinion doesn't mean that what I'm saying is 100% correct. I can be wrong just like anyone else, but I'm always very clear about the things I talk about, and it's really just how I see certain things. You can disagree if you want to. Now, I'm not going to talk about the whole Kyle Busch thing, the 200 wins, and all that stuff. You guys saw for yourself what this weekend was all about. I'm not surprised about any of it. I think a lot of the things I talked about really just proven themselves to be exactly what I thought. That being said, I actually think it's a good thing Kyle Busch won because and I'm really hoping this is the last we hear of this. I know that it's probably not going to be the case, but I'm hoping it is. Now that it's over with, maybe we can just move on. Congratulations to Kyle. He is probably the greatest driver of this generation. Uh, I'm not a fan of his. Most of you guys know that, but I've never said he wasn't a great driver. I've never taken anything away from his ability. I've never claimed that he wasn't a great driver, so apparently some people can't take criticism and they automatically say, well, um, whatever. I don't want to go there, okay? Kyle Busch is a great driver. Congratulations, 200 wins. Get that out the way. So I want to talk about something really positive about NASCAR because I do remember someone asking me to do a video, just something, talk about something positive for a change. So I'm going to try that right now. And the first thing that comes to mind to me when it comes to NASCAR, that's actually a really positive thing, is that NASCAR is still, in spite of whatever issues there are in the sport, it's still, in my opinion, the best live sporting event you can attend. I think everything else pales in comparison. I think if you go to a live NASCAR race, which I highly recommend to anyone who's never done it before, you will have a great time. And just real quick, I'm going to tell you guys about my first experience at a live NASCAR race. Very, very long time ago, many years ago. But for those of you who don't know, I am Dominican. I live in New York City, born and raised, the South Bronx to be exact. The reason I bring that up is just so you guys can take account of the fact that I don't really fit the normal NASCAR fan demographic. When you think of NASCAR fans, I'm not that, I probably don't fit into that stereotype. And the truth is that the vast majority of fans are, white people from the South. Um, Country folk, redneck, and I say that in the most respectful way possible. Um, but that being said, when I first went to my first NASCAR race, I went with my best friend, who's also Dominican, and when we went there, not knowing what to expect. And I have to be honest, when you're someone who's not from that community, you, not everyone, but I think most people would be a little apprehensive, right? You don't know what to expect. You know you're going to stand out almost like a sore thumb, and you don't know how people are going to treat you or react to you and what kind of environment you're walking into. So I was apprehensive, right? Not really overly so, but to an extent. And I will tell you that I was blown away by how nice and welcoming everyone was. Not that I was expecting a crazy riot type of atmosphere, but when you consider that the fact that at these NASCAR events you have a lot more people than you do at a baseball game, football game, or you go to an arena or some other sporting event. Um, the crowds at these places are much larger. Now, even though the attendance is down and the stands are really empty when you see them on TV, there's still a lot of people at these places. These places are huge. So, when you see how many people are at these events and how much alcohol is consumed, and there are people who show up on Thursday and they're drinking the entire 3-4 days, sometimes up until Monday morning. When you take those two things into account, it really is amazing to see how few incidents, whether they're violent or just altercations, really happen at these races. Now, I can't speak for every venue, but I've been to many races through the years, mostly Dover and Pocono, because those are the closest tracks to where I live. But I've been to Richmond, which I'm going to a month from now. I forgot what date. I know it's like April 12th, 13th, Saturday night race. I'm going to be there for that. I've been to Richmond. I've been to Pocono, Dover, numerous times. Charlotte, I've been there a couple times. And even Darlington. So, I've been to these places, and it's always the same fun, very gracious, welcoming atmosphere. And I have yet to see any incident that would detract me or anyone who's going for the first time from wanting to go. I'm sure things happen from time to time. I mean, you think about all the alcohol and how many people are all bunched up together. There's bound to be something. But I've never seen it. That's amazing. And what I really want to point out is how amazing that first time I went was. And actually, I've had the same experience every time since. But it's no longer a surprise to me. It was that first time where I didn't know what to expect. And I have to say that I think the NASCAR fan base, the people who actually attend these live races, are probably some of the best people you can meet, because it's amazingly open to a family type atmosphere. Like, you can bring your kids, you can bring anyone to these races, and everyone's gonna have a good time. And people are so friendly and they're welcoming. I've never felt like I didn't belong. And even though people I meet people, and a lot of times they'll say, "Hey, where are you from? You sound like you're from New York. Are you a Yankee or something?" And sometimes they'll refer to you if you're from up north, and they'll call you a Yankee or whatever. But it's like they know. And I don't think I have an accent, but I've talked to people, even playing video games online. People will ask me, "Hey, where are you from? You from New York?" And I'm like, "Yeah, how you know?" He goes, "Yeah, I could tell by your accent." I'm like, "Accent?" But in either case, people know you're not from Tennessee or from Houston or wherever, so they know you're from up north. And I have always run into, it's like everyone is so friendly. If you can literally have all the beer you want, even mooch off of people. It's just like everyone's offering you stuff. You want some beer, you want this, it's just the greatest atmosphere, right? And a lot of times people who've never gone to a live NASCAR race and don't follow NASCAR, they do have a preconceived notion, right? Because you do see mostly white folks at these races, and you see a lot of the Confederate flag. You see it everywhere. I can tell you that, hopefully you really like Alabama and Leonard Skinner, because you're going to be hearing the same 3 or 4 songs all weekend. Sweet Home Alabama, Free Bird, Simple Man, everybody knows. And when you're there, it's like that's all you hear all weekend, which is great. I love it. So I want to tell that's one of the number one things I think of when I think of positive things about NASCAR. I really have to point out the fans, and going to a live event. To me, that stands out above everything else, right? And I highly recommend it to anyone. And that brings me to another thing that I want to bring up. And I saw something in the race this weekend that I loved seeing. It really was a heartwarming feeling I got watching it. In fact, I literally got goosebumps when I saw this. And it's because it's something I've talked about that I've never seen anyone talk about when I talk about things that NASCAR needs to do. And in order for the sport to grow and survive. And that is that need to appeal to a wider fan base. A wider, expand your appeal to people that don't normally follow NASCAR. And I've talked about this before. Those of you who watch my videos, I've talked about this. That NASCAR needs to do something to reach out to people that, go to places that where NASCAR is not a thing. Like I told you, I'm from New York. I'm Dominican. I do not fit that normal NASCAR demographic. In fact, I don't really know any other NASCAR fans up here in New York. I'm sure there are plenty of people, but around my circle of friends, family, not really. But I'm the most hardcore NASCAR fan. I'm as hardcore as anybody. I love NASCAR. Can't get enough of it. In spite of all the bad things, I still love NASCAR as a sport. I still want to see it improve and grow. And that's the reason I do criticize. My criticism it always comes from a good place. Whether I'm talking about NASCAR video games or other video games or NASCAR, the sport of NASCAR, my criticism, I try to keep it as constructive as I can, and it's always coming from a good place. I want things to get better. I'm not somebody who's bashing things just for the hell of it. Like, I don't get off on, pointing out all the bad things about NASCAR games or the sport of NASCAR. It's always trying to address issues, and the best way to correct problems, fix things, is to address the issues head on. You can't hide from these things. So I call it like I see it, and if it makes people feel better to hit the thumbs down or unsubscribe, go right ahead. It's your right to do so. If it makes you feel better, if the criticism is something that bothers you to that extent, then feel free to do that. That's not gonna bother me at all. I don't do this for subscribers or for views. I don't make money doing this, so that's not my intent. I talk about things that interest me because I genuinely care about these things, or I just feel like talking about it. There's no ulterior motive where I'm concerned. But I love going to a live NASCAR race, I swear it's still one of the best things. And NASCAR does know how. I mean, it's just a great live event. Even NASCAR can't screw that up, right? There's something about being there and the smell of the fuel and the exhaust and the rubber, all those things mixed together with the sound of 40 stock cars going at high speeds. It's just something about that I can't describe. And if somebody could bottle that into a cologne, I would buy it and wear it. So I saw something this weekend, and like I said, I talked about the need for NASCAR to do something to get people who don't really care about NASCAR or follow NASCAR to come and experience NASCAR live at the track. Because to me, NASCAR does sell itself at a live event. You don't really have to do much. You just let people come there and experience how awesome a live event is, and they'll walk away. They'll never forget the experience. And I think a lot of those people, maybe not even half, but a large chunk of those people, they'll want to come back. You bring them there, like I said, get sponsors, get owners, NASCAR themselves, all these people together, and you can collectively go out to these urban communities, right? Wherever these races are being held, go to the closest cities or places where people don't normally follow NASCAR. And then you can work with community centers or places that deal with, just young kids who don't have much to do. And these places that try to keep kids off the streets and keep them out of trouble. These are the type of people who normally just only care about basketball and football, right? Don't really know nothing about NASCAR. These are the people you got to bring out to the track, and just expose them to what NASCAR is about, right? And I guarantee you, they'll enjoy themselves, and they'll walk away with a memory they'll never forget. And when NASCAR happens to be on TV and they happen to be just sitting around flipping through channels, they are more likely to sit and watch, because now they remember what it was like to actually go and watch the race. And maybe that they learned something about NASCAR, that it's not just a bunch of cars going in circles, right? This is one of the things you hear from people who don't know nothing about NASCAR. They just think, oh yeah, big deal, bunch of cars going in circles. But we all know, as fans, that it's a lot more than that. So the key is getting those people and bringing them to the track. They're not going to do it on their own. And that's why you do need to have this concerted effort and work with communities and get sponsors involved and say to these people, hey, all expenses paid, how would you like to come spend the weekend at a NASCAR event? And your hotel, everything, right? Now, when you look at these tracks, there's one thing that you're not going to have to worry about. Seating, right? You see these grandstands are empty at every racetrack. There's plenty of seats available. And the owners of these tracks, if they have to sell these seats at a cost, half price or even less, it's better than nothing. It's better than empty seats, right? So everyone can work together and everyone can benefit. So now you get these sponsors, you get these owners and NASCAR themselves and any other and community leaders, right? Get all these people together, and then they can get all these kids and bring them, like maybe 50 to 100, right? Whatever it is, whatever they can work out. You can fill an entire section in the grandstands with these kids. They'll have hotel, bring them there on practice, right? Have somebody that, like a tour guide, bring them through the garage. Let them meet some of the drivers. Let them watch from a distance, right? watch these teams working on these cars, and you can have people explain to them what they're doing, how they prepare these cars for the weekend. Just exposing them to that atmosphere where they can hear these cars and they can smell those smells I'm talking about. The fuel, the rubber, the exhaust. And listening to these cars go around the track and watch these teams working on these cars. And they start feeling like, hey, I'm starting to understand what's going on here. And then have that experience that I'm talking about when they finally get to sit and watch the race for the first time live. And they can see all the things that are really happening and the decisions being made and the pit stops and all of that together, it sells itself. And that's why I say to NASCAR, you have something that sells itself. You don't even have to try that hard. The hardest part is finding these people and bringing them to the track. And I talked a lot about that before, and I'm bringing it up now because I saw something this weekend, and I hope you guys noticed it. Those of you who saw the race on Sunday. And I really felt excited because it goes to what I've been talking about. And to see something that I've been talking about, and I haven't seen anyone else talk about it, and I actually saw it come to fruition in a small way, but still. Daniel Suarez and Coca-Cola, they had this thing where they brought all these people. You know, they're in California, so obviously there's a large Mexican community out in California. And you could tell all these people were Mexicans from the community, and they brought these people out. They made a whole thing out of it. They were all sitting together. I don't know how many of them there were. It wasn't like a massive group of people, but it was about 50 people, maybe, give or take a few. I mean, I'm throwing a number out there. I didn't really research this, but they showed them on TV a couple times, and they were all sitting together in an entire, there was a whole section of them, and they were all wearing Coca-Cola gear. So all you saw was a sea of red, Coca-Cola shirts, hats. And the thing I noticed is the smiles on everyone's face and how much fun they were having. There was not one person I saw just sitting there like, you know, like nothing. They were all like excited, looking around, smiling. They were proudly wearing all that Coca-Cola gear. So everyone wins, right? Because whoever owns Auto Club Speedway, that's a whole group of people sitting in the stands, having a good time that, you know, otherwise would have been empty seats. That's good. That looks good for you. It puts people in the stands. And the best part is that I've talked about this before. If you can get 20%, which is not a high number, that's 1 out of 5. 20% of these people who are sitting there for the first time enjoying this NASCAR race with all their Coca-Cola gear, if you can get 20% of those people to want to come back on their own and on their dime, and I guarantee you, I really believe there's a handful of those people who are going to come back. They're going to bring their families. They're going to bring their kids, maybe their moms, their mother, their father, and say, hey, you got to come see this. This was awesome. I had a great time. We're going to go next year, and we'll make a thing of it. And they'll bring their families and their friends, and they'll tell their friends, right, at the bar, you know, when they're hanging out, hey, man, I had such a fucking great time. You guys won't believe how awesome it was. And they'll tell their friends, like, hey, everybody was so friendly, and it was a welcoming atmosphere. I'll never forget how awesome it was, and we're going back. And I'm just talking about a portion of those people. That's a huge win for NASCAR. That's a huge win for Auto Club Speedway and every other track, because those are extra people coming to attend these races in the future. And they're going to tell their friends and their family. And look, it's not going to happen overnight. But the point is that that's how you do it, little by little. And if you just get 20%, like I said, the owners of the track win, Coca-Cola did well because one, it's a corporation. Corporations like good publicity. This looks really good on them. So they get to promote their product. They give these people free shirts, hats, and then you see a sea of red. Everything is Coca-Cola for an entire section. That's great advertisement for them. So whatever they had to contribute, it comes back and it multiplies for them in publicity, in promotion, in marketing. And kudos to them. Kudos to Daniel Suarez for doing it. I hope this is something that it's not just a one-time thing. I want to see this thing catch on. I hope NASCAR paid attention. I hope other sponsors paid attention. And maybe they say, hey, we got to start doing this stuff. And it's a win-win for everybody. It also looks good on NASCAR. NASCAR, that's another good thing I could say. NASCAR has always been great when it comes to doing charity work, all that stuff. I don't know if there's any other organization in sports that does a better job than NASCAR when it comes to charity work. So you can look at this as charity work. Think of all these kids who have nothing to do, in the inner cities, and they would love to come out and spend the weekend, and see what NASCAR is all about. And like I said, there's no fucking way they're going to sit through this entire weekend and walk away saying, I didn't like that. They're going to love it, man. And that's something they take with them, and they tell their friends, and they tell their families. And when there's a race on TV, and they just happen to be flipping channels, the chances of some of these kids actually sitting there and watching is much bigger. Because now they say, hey man, remember when we were at Auto Club or wherever, or Dover or Pocono? That was awesome. And now I know what's going on. Remember when we met so-and-so and we met Kevin Harvick or whoever. And look, man, and now I actually got a rooting interest, right? That was fucking awesome. And I'm rooting for it's a snowball effect. You don't really have to do much. You bring these people out who don't know nothing about NASCAR, bring them out to the track. The sport sells itself. And you only need a small turnover. Not all of them are going to get hooked. I get that. But 20% is not a high bar. That's 1 out of 5. And 1 out of 5, you mean to tell me they're not going to be more likely to watch some of this stuff on TV or want to go back to another race? You need to do this every week. You need to do this at every venue. You go where people are who don't normally follow NASCAR, and you grab some of those people and you say, hey, how would you like a free, all expenses paid weekend for a NASCAR adventure? You're going to get those people. You're not going to have to fucking drag them at gunpoint. And I can't tell you how good it felt watching that on TV. And it wasn't a huge group of people. Like I said, it was a section. But they showed them a few times. They were always having a great time. And another thing, they even painted one of the walls I saw on the track, and it said Bienvenidos. And for those of you who don't know Spanish, that means welcome. That actually gave me goosebumps, believe it or not. So, and it's because I've been saying this stuff. This is what they need to do. And this is not, listen, it's a tiny baby step. And maybe this was a one-time thing. I really hope it's not. But that's what NASCAR needs to do. You got to welcome people who just aren't from that same community. And another positive thing, I think, when you get all these people, right, and they're all Mexicans, Hispanics, whatever, and they're feeling marginalized today, okay? And you guys understand what I'm talking about. You bring them out to an environment where it's mostly white people, and they're gonna mingle a little bit, and they're gonna start maybe getting to know each other a little bit. And I do think, and I'm telling you from personal experience, I can't tell you how wonderful all my experiences have been with people. I can't point out one negative experience. And I almost feel like people, they try harder. Once they know, hey man, you're not one of us, but we want to make you feel welcome here. We don't want you to feel like you don't belong. And I think the best of people comes out. So I know you guys think I'm being corny right now, and I feel almost embarrassed talking like this, but that stuff really touched me. And seeing that, I wish NASCAR would have focused a little more on that and a little less on the other shit, with the fucking 200 wins thing. Congratulations, Kyle. I'm happy for you. I just hope this is the end of it. And there's a part of me that feels, you know, I hope they don't start every week with, oh, look, 201, 202. Let's leave this stuff where it belongs, and let's focus on the positive. And so this is, I hope this satisfies some people. They wanted to hear some positive stuff. I really think that NASCAR as a live event can really, really do wonders, and do more of this stuff where you're bringing people out to the race. Um, it's I don't know what it is, man, but it really touched me to see people that I know. These people probably never followed NASCAR. Maybe because it's Daniel Suarez, maybe they had some interest, but it was nice. And every time they showed these people, it wasn't a lot, but every single person in that section was laughing, yelling, waving in the air. These people were pumped up, man. They were enjoying themselves, and I really hope NASCAR was paying attention, and I want to see more of that. And that's exactly what I've been talking about. And I'm not gonna lie, because I've been talking about stuff like that, it felt personal to me. Like, wow, to see that happening, it was like, it just felt good. So that's all I'm gonna say. What do you guys think? I'll see you guys around.